Major Garrett is in Washington. Major, the Trump campaign has indicated there will be two special guests during stops in Iowa today. Do we know who they are?
We know who one of them is for sure. John Wayne, the actor's daughter. That's sort of a nice pseudo-celebrity endorsement. Kind of fits in with the rugged American individualism, the Western values that John Wayne personified on screen in America at a different era, one that at times Donald Trump actively tries to invoke or re-invoke in the American spirit. The second, quite possibly, could be 2008 vice presidential nominee for the Republican Party, Sarah Palin, the former Alaska governor. Now, there are those in the Cruz campaign who believe and quite possibly fear it will be Palin coming to Iowa to endorse Donald Trump. In July, Palin wrote a very favorable column about Donald Trump's effect on the political conversation. This just a few weeks after Trump formally entered the race. And she spoke very positively about Trump's effect on the mainstream media, the political class, and said that he had really tapped into something that was not only populist, but was close to the concerns of most working class American voters. It was as close to an endorsement type column as you could have written without the actual words, "Therefore, I, Sarah Palin, endorse Donald Trump." Maybe she will complete that sentence later today in Iowa.
So you said some believe, some fear that it may be Sarah Palin. What sort of impact or boost do you think she could give him in Iowa?
Well, look, if you're Ted Cruz, you'd rather have Sarah Palin on your side than on Donald Trump's side. For this reason, both of you are vying for the support of so-called anti-establishment Republican voters who are sick and tired of either political correctness or electing Republicans, sending them to Washington, and watching them cut deals you oppose with President Obama. Cruz and Trump both speak to that underlying frustration. And Palin, throughout her entire career on the national stage at least, has spoken to those same anxieties and or angers. So, all things being equal, if you're Ted Cruz, you'd rather have Sarah Palin with you than against you. That is part of the equation. The larger question is, can Sarah Palin bring more people to Donald Trump than he already has? I'm not so sure. I think Donald Trump, based on everything we've seen in the polls, his resiliency in this race, his ability to withstand media criticism in a way that it's worth remembering Sarah Palin did not, may have already gathered every part of the Sarah Palin constituency that ever existed or is likely to exist. So maybe what Sarah Palin does, if she in fact endorses Trump, is create a little echo effect around Donald Trump, but doesn't actually enlarge the messaging. But she does create a day or two of publicity, and we know the Trump campaign is never shy about that.
What about the so-called establishment candidates? 13 days before Iowa, are any of the establishment candidates emerging as a potential alternative to Donald Trump or Ted Cruz?
There's no evidence of that, either in the polls or in the conversations I have with Republicans and conservative activists across the state of Iowa. They tell me over and over again, everyone is vying, everyone's doing a lot of hard work, but nobody is breaking out. And what they expect to happen is very late in this process, let's say within the last 2 to 3 days, voters who are thinking about John Kasich or Chris Christie or Jeb Bush or Marco Rubio, either in a tidal way or in a smaller way, move perceptibly to one of those candidates. Now, most people I talk to in Iowa believe the ultimate inheritor of the so-called mainstream or establishment vote will be Marco Rubio. That Rubio impresses a lot of people, is a lot of people's sort of second choice, but he hasn't broke through yet. That process may be very late in the game. And that's something we're just going to have to watch to see if there's any evidence of it in the polls or if this does in fact break very, very late. I think that's a likely scenario. I'm not exactly sure if Rubio is the only one who inherits that or gets a sort of a tidal push, but there is an enormously important fight in Iowa for number 3 in the overall rankings, but number 1 in that sort of establishment mainstream Republican alternative primary. It's sort of like the caucus within the caucus. There's Trump and Cruz for 1 and 2, and then who's number 1 is actually who's number 3.
All right, Major Garrett in Washington for us. Major, thank you.
You got it.